8 hours. Okay, so it's running. Go back into. This one is actually easier when we get going here than the create tables in some way. So I said I just did the create tables first because that's kind of what the book does. This is, if you've ever done any SQL before, then you've probably done the things I'm going to show you today. So I don't expect this to be too. There might be a couple of little things that you haven't done. So one of the first things, and this is while you guys are setting up, we're just going to do like simple selects, so querying, tables. I'm going to do more complicated queries. Like the next one is introduces a bunch of functions that you use in SQL Server, and then the next one after that will be joins, because we're not going to worry about joining tables, but we will in next week probably. I'm just looking to see who's up and who isn't. You're okay. Yeah, so then you'll be okay. I usually grade stuff on Sundays, but actually at Ocean Shores, whether it was because of the windstorm Friday or whatever, their wireless sucked.
What sucks?
They're wireless at the hotel. That's what
yeah. I basically like get a bunch of homework time and hear that my calendar was gone.
Yeah. All right. You're just about there. Are you trying to get that Well, so where is it? Yeah, you can't do it. So let's just copy that. Are they extracted? Yeah. So just copy. Just select a book. And then let's go to this PC. And see the program files. And Microsoft SQL Server. And SQL Express. And then data. And just paste it. Just paste it. Okay, now over here on the databases, the top level right click attach. And then just add. And then go to there. Yeah, and just do it. Just do it again. A couple things about running databases if you
Yeah. It is what it is.
Kill it and restart is your best bet.
Power it off.
Yeah. I will get going, as I said that, yeah. One of the things I was going to tell you too, if you move the files, if you detach these and move them, you cannot run a SQL Server file from a thumb drive. You cannot run it from downloads. You cannot run it from any folder that is part of a profile. That's the level folder. It doesn't have to be the data folder, but it has to be a root level folder.
So what is it where should file be placing it?
Well,
program, SQL Server, SQL Express.
So yeah, there's for us, I would not advise this necessarily for to this PC, C drive, program files, SQL Server Express, and if you have a full version, your path will be slightly different. And then into data. This is the default place. This is not where I put it if I was running this for real. Right.
It'd be outside of the root.
I would put it, well, it needs to be in the root somewhere, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the root on this. Does that make?
Yeah.
What it won't do is it won't allow you to put it in any profile specifically.
You would want to drive.
Probably want it on a separate drive, and you would want the log on a separate drive from the. So you needs to be on two different drives, because if your drive dies and your log is on the same drive, you've lost it.
The log should be on like a redundant.
It should be, yeah. So we're not going to go there too much, but typically, so your log file and your data file should be on different machines. Also, you should have backups, which should be on a different machine altogether also. Yeah.
So you can use the log to reconstruct the database?
So if the log will only reconstruct the transactions that occurred since your last backup. So what you have to do is you have to reapply the backups and then reapply the log. You have to make sure you back up the log too. Reapply the, you can, what the log will give you is actually the data that isn't stored in your last backup. So you can restore up to a moment, like a whole thing. You can restore right up to the moment just before the whole thing. But if you have backups, so you have to restore all your backups, and if you're doing differential backups, you have to do the first backup first, the primary backup, and then each differential in order, and then the log files. I showed that in the summer class.
That's the database administration class.
Yeah.
Okay.
And basically, when you have multiple restores like that, you have to keep the database in suspension until the last step, until you restore the log, and then you restore you reactivate the database at that. So one of the things is you can save the database if you have backups, if you do something terrible, or if it just crashes, which is not your fault usually. But if it was something that you did, you typically have to take the database offline to restore it, which could be a problem.
It's ///SQL and use the Windows authentication.
Yes.
Yes. Connect.
All right, one more. So there's a couple of things it could be. It could be that when it crashes, shut off.
You have any single problem?
Yeah. All right. So let me show you up front again. This is, and then we'll get going on the other thing. So if you have a network, there are times when SQL Server will shut off. I have never had this happen at home. Not once ever, but it seems to be a frequent occurrence here.
It crashes and disappears?
Well, so SQL Server shuts off. Not the management studio, but the actual server itself, which runs as a service under Windows. So if you go to the Windows, assuming you have Windows 10, if you go to the Windows icon and right-click, choose Computer Management. You only need to do this if you're getting errors, right? Go to Services and Applications. It may take a moment. And then SQL Server Configuration, SQL Servers. So this should say that it's running. If it says that it's stopped, right-click on it and just say Start. I'm showing this because it is a fairly common.
What folder did you go in after?
Right side down.
SQL Server
Right.
Services?
Right-click on it. Or you can.
Okay. Running.
SQL Server Services.
And there you go. You've got it running. Oh, it's still loading now.
I don't have one that says run.
Yours must be.
Oh, wait, yeah, it is.
Yeah. And this could be much more complicated depending on your installation, actually. Just to let you know. But what you want is the one that says either SQL Server, SQL Express, or it might say SQL Server MSS. Actually, just MSS Server, I think, which is the default instance. Or it might have a name if you named it when you installed it. So go into Services, and then right-click on the top one. Yeah. And just restart. Take it a second, and it'll be there.
Thank you. Just for no reason, doesn't start.
Yeah, you know, sometimes I wonder if it is because it's a service, it's always running, and it's set by default to start every time the computer restarts. But I wonder sometimes if, particularly on laptops and these virtual machines, if it says there aren't enough resources to start. I have no, I mean, I'm just trying to speculate. I have no idea why it isn't. As I said, at home, I've never had it not start.
Well, maybe, yeah. If the startup resources are too low.
Too low. Yeah. Then maybe it just doesn't do it at that time. So in the process, because typically when I found it happen, it's in these virtual machines or it's on laptops.
Yeah, there's an individual setting just
Yeah.
for startup resources.
Okay, are we ready? All right.
I'm going to keep it quick. 30 seconds.
Okay, good. So we're going to do selects. Are there any questions? How many? Most of you have done some selects, right? Anyone not? Do you have it? Okay.
I may have, but I don't recall.
Yeah.
From last, it was 2 quarters ago.
So these are basically just ways of the data out of tables. The first one I have here is just the asterisk, which is a wildcard. It just says return everything, right? It returns all the columns. At this point, we're returning all the rows. You always have select from, and then something in here. The more, I'm going to do one other version of this real quickly. Select, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say first name, person, first name, email. So we'll just get an email list from a person. Okay. So this is the more typical format where you actually list the columns. You can list them in whatever order you want. They don't have to match the order in the table. This way you get to see only what you want to see. The from always precedes the name of the table you're querying from. So it's just select these names from the table person. And again, if I just highlight that, it'll do. So now I'm only seeing their last name, first name. And then another thing here, forget it where or if I ask for it. I may not ask for it till the next one, but I'm going to show it. If you want to, you can change the names of these in the output. So I'm going to do as, and then I'm just going to do last name. I'm also just going to do and this one I'm just going to do, I'm breaking the lines. You can break the lines pretty much for every. So I did something here. Let me run it and then I'll show you what I've done. So I've aliased the fields. Notice there's last name, first name, and then email. But I aliased it in kind of like 3 different ways. So why would I use, so the as keyword lets you know that you're aliasing, and you might want to use it, but it is totally optional. The as keyword is not required for aliasing. Do you know why last name's in square brackets? I didn't do it with you.
Because of the space between.
Because of the space. If you put something in an illegal character, and a space is an illegal character for a name, then you have to put it in square brackets or double quotes, actually. This here doesn't have any illegal characters. And so I didn't have to put it in square brackets, and I didn't have to use as keyword. All work down here, right? First name. So I just wanted to show you, you can alias them to make it look. This is not changing anything in the underlying database, right? It's just for the display. But a lot of people you write queries for reports. That's actually a job you can get sometimes. Where you're just doing queries and you need to output the things for a report, and it's a lot of times it's nicer to have a readable in the underlying column. Questions on aliasing? It's not an important issue here, though we'll be using it at different times. If it's clearer to you, it is certainly fine to use as every time, because it'll make it clear that that's what you're doing with your alias. And if you prefer, you can always do square brackets. If I bring in a table, column name, so let me go to Community Assist here. Tables, I'll go into person. I probably shouldn't show you this, but you can drag in the column if you don't want to type it. It'll always put it in square brackets. And that's not because they're required, it's because SQL Server doesn't know if you obeyed the rules or not. So it just assumes you didn't and puts everything in square brackets. Questions then on aliasing and the basics of the select. Keywords are in blue usually.
So this is like just a select statements.
It's just a select, yeah. Trying to think of what, I think the next thing is I'll just show you some, add another clause. We'll add a where. These, right now, we're selecting among the columns, but we're still returning all the rows. So I'm going to do, this time I'm going to look at person address again. This is going to be real close to the assignment. I just want the names of the fields. Person address. Columns, person address. So let's do apartment. Whoa, that's a problem with dragging them. Okay, person address apartment. Street, city, and I guess the zip code. Just know that I make these up. They do not necessarily reflect real zip codes. And I'm going to do from person address. Notice the red lines go away once I do the from, because it doesn't know which columns, doesn't know what table it's from until I do the from. So I'm going to run this first, and then I'm going to show you a couple of variations with the where key. So I said most of you probably know this stuff. All right, so a couple of things I'm going to do. There are a few cities in here. Let's do one where let's do Kent. It's easy to spell. So I'm going to add a new clause where person address city equals, and then in quotes, single quotes, I'm going to do Kent. All right. So this is going to limit. Whoa. All right. undo that. This is going to limit the rows that I see to only those that have Kent as a city. Does that make sense? You guys have done. It's just a simple where clause. Couple of things to note. If it is a character type, it needs to have single quotes. Double quotes won't work. Does that make sense? And that's just a, I think that's true in MySQL also. Anybody know? Last time I did.
I think so, yes.
I'm not 100% sure if that's true, but I think it is.
I just used my SQL last quarter, so I should
Yeah.
know this.
And so did I, but I'm just trying to. I always do single quotes. What I'm not sure is what objective.
Same one.
What?
So it'll accept the select statements with brackets or without.
Yes,
The only reason they're brackets there is because
I drug them in.
SQL's making its best guess.
Right. So SQL, just in order to be safe, it puts these in there, and just in case you have an illegal character. There are other illegal characters like an ampersand, an @ sign. See, it's fine either way. I'll show you another one we could do. Let's do. I'm going to add. I'm copying it because I'm going to paste this, and I want you to have both versions. But I'm going to do Kent or person, address, city equals, and let's do Bellevue. The reason I'm not doing Seattle is there are hundreds of Seattles, and there's only a few of these others. So this should give us everybody that is in Kent or Bellevue, right? So you can do an or keyword. Does that make sense? One of the things that people, you can't just say where person, address, city equals Kent or Bellevue. You have to say where person, address, city equals Kent or person, address, city equals Bellevue.
What would happen if you didn't put the or in there? Just curious.
What?
If you didn't put the or in there and just put where person address city equals Kent, person address city equals Bellevue.
It'd give you an error.
It would be an error.
Yeah.
So I guess that you can put completely different constraints where the
Sure. You could.
Kent or the zip code is.
Right. Let's say, and this would give us the next thing. We could say, and where apartment isn't null.
So where couldn't be used multiple times.
Where can only be used once, but you can add as many ors and ands as you want.
You can or and.
Yeah, so I'm going to do an and this time. And person, this is more complicated than I meant to make this. I was going to do these separately. Person, apartment is not null, so I gave you a not too. All right, so these are nulls, right? Nulls, anybody have a good definition of a null? I mean, I might do a couple.
There's just like no data whatsoever.
There's no data, it's unknown. So you can never say that something is equal to a null.
Zero does not count as null.
0 is not null, and empty space is not null. It's unknown data. So sometimes you'll get I have this sometimes when I'm building a form in a web form. It's okay, it'll pass an empty string. An empty string isn't null. It's an empty string. It's a 0 character string. Null is unknown. It's nothing. You know, it doesn't know what it is. The main thing about that is you can't compare it with equal or greater than or less than, right? It always is. It's not null or is null. What this will do is it will return only the people in Bellevue or Kent who have, oh, so that's an interesting, let's do, this is something you might have to play with. I'm going to change this to or, and I'm just going to make this part up there. See if I can get rid of those two. That was,
Would be and.
it would be an and here. As I said, this is more complicated. See, Bellevue isn't given it.
Is no, wouldn't it? It's not.
It's not no. We're getting them where it's not can't.
Looking for the stuff that doesn't have any data?
I'm looking for the stuff that does have
Data.
so it's not null. But it's getting those two because it's only applying the not null to can't.
Is that because somebody typed in null?
Well, I could do it again with another and.
There's no real like.
Trying to see one of the problems in or together is it complicated.
But what's putting the null in there? It's population matters part of the null.
Because that's in the database. This one, those are there. That means they don't have.
Okay.
It's so it's database. We're to look for. As I said, I was actually what I wanted to do. Let's look at the nulls later. I just wanted to show that you can have ands. Combining ands and ors is something that's really complicated fast. But you can. You can do it. You can have as many and, ors, and nots as you want. But I was surprised it didn't catch both of those. It only caught the one that was closest. So I'm going to, I'll come back to you on that. See, that gives you just Bellevue or can. And then the is not null. Let's look. I'm going to just do the same select. But I'm going to say where, first I'll say where person address apartment is null. That means that it'll be the ones where there is no apartment. And it will give me all the ones, that have no apartment. And then the opposite of that is not null. There are times when you were looking for things that you want to know the ones that are empty, that don't exist. Does that make sense? It's not an uncommon thing.
What was the other one that had the nulls in it that aren't supposed to be there?
Well, I was trying to come out with the or, right? This is the ones that have all of these actually have it. Up here, I was trying to where the apartment number null only applied to Bellevue. I put it up, it only applied to Kent. So I was trying to figure out where to put it to both, and I don't know. I'll have to look at that. It's actually pretty easy if I only do one city. It's the or that was confusing with that. Easily, right? I have one other thing besides all here. Show you can use them too, and then we'll go on to some other criteria. I'm going to say where person address city. I'm going to, instead of this would give us everybody that's in Seattle. If I do not, then it will give us everybody that is not in Seattle. I mean, all the people that are not in Seattle, which isn't a big number. There's a few. Kind of the garbage things. I'm surprised they're in there. I should get rid of them. Those are from when I do data entry in classes and things fail or fail. But not. The other thing you can do, and I'll just comment this, is SQL Server also allows exclamation equal, and those also work as not. All right, so it's not equal, you can do that. They're not standard though, yeah. So which one? Yeah, did you get it to work?
Okay, so what my address is, okay.
I put it back to the way it was, yeah. I will comment these before I post them too, so. It isn't?
No, everything's super slow. I'm trying to restart.
I can't hear Mike.
Yeah, no.
Are there other virtual machines running?
Family visit.
You got machines running in the background over there?
So maybe to know. I see that.
So which part is not working for you?
I wanted it to not have those.
Okay.
So if you say is not known, that's the part, they should not be there.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at a couple of other kinds of criteria real quickly. These are nulls we've looked at, and these are character types. Let's look at like some money, and I'm going to show sorting thing. So I could show you a sorting thing real quick. Well, let's look at money first, I guess. So I'm going to select donation date and donation information. All right, so there's some types of data here that are numerical. There's the date, and then there's the amount, right? So if I wanted to see, I'm just going to add where donation amount is greater than, let's just say greater than 500. There shouldn't be that many of those. 21 of them. So one of the things I wanted to show you is that numbers are not quoted, right? So these are quoted, character types are quoted, numbers don't need to be quoted. And you can do the greater than, less than, greater than, equal to. You know, you can do all of these kinds of things with it. Does that make sense? You can do all the different operators. And then I'm going to do one of these, look at some same basic thing, except I'm going to do it for the dates. So I got double selects. All right, where donation date. And let me look real quickly. I'm going to say greater than. So there are a few, there's like 2 in 2016. There's a few. So I'm going to say greater than, what was the last day there? That's 9, so it'd be October. Let's do greater than. Actually, let's do greater than 8. '30, 2015. Now I'm entering it on purpose, not the way that it is here, to show you that that mostly works.
Mostly?
Yeah. There are some things that will screw you up. I'll show you in a minute. So dates are quoted here. And they don't have to be entered in this format, although you can. It's ignoring the time is what can screw you up. Actually, because if I do greater than, if I started, say I did greater than 8, right? If I said greater than 9, or greater than or equal to 9.3, that actually would work if it's greater than, because it would include the time. But if I wanted it to be equal to, let's do an equal to that first date. So I'm just going to, you can see I copy a lot just to keep from typing. So let's say this is 9/3/2015. So that's what we got there for date. When I do this, I get nothing. All right, and why do I get nothing? Anybody know?
There's nothing that's exactly.
There's nothing. Yeah, at the time, it's the time. It's not equal to it because of the time. For it to be equal to, this would have to be midnight, right? If this would date and time. So when you have the time in the date, the donation date there, it accounts it when it's looking for equal to. It also counts it for greater than or less than. So the time matters. Again, it didn't matter here because I was looking for everything greater than this date that was before the date that I was. Does that make sense? Let's see what we get. And I'm not 100% sure. I'm going to show another version of this. So if I want to do between 8:30, well, let's do 8:3. Did we have 8:3? Was I wrong about the 8:3? Was it 9:3?
The one that you pointed out was not from 9/3.
Let's try this 9:3. I still think it'll be the same result, but okay. So I'm going to do what I'm going to do between, and then I just want to run this again so I see the dates. All right, between 9/3 and 9/11 actually. So and again, I don't think this will give me exactly what, well, actually it did okay. I think it gave me all 3. I wanted to show, this is another thing you can use, and it works with numbers, but it's really good with dates as well, where you do between 2 dates. And it's inclusive of its ends, and it seems to have included even the times beyond the midnight there. So. Oh, actually, we don't have 11. It didn't include the end because of the time. Whereas if I did this till 9/12, it would include the, I think. Yeah. Because again, the time, it goes from midnight 9 to 15. Now, another thing you can do is you can just enter the time. Dates are interesting, and part of the next assignment will be to do some date time math, because there are all sorts of built-in functions for handling dates and times. Does that make sense? All right, so I've done these. I'm trying to remember what other things I need to do for your assignment. Sorting. So, ouch. I'm going to go back to the person one, and I'm going to just do a select star from person. I'm going to order by person last name. So first I'll just run the first part. If you see, we have Anderson, Zimmerman, Mann, Carmel. They're not in any kind of order. If I add the order by, they're now in alphabetical order. Right? Allen, Anderson, Baker, Baker, Banner, Baker, etc. So order by is how you sort, and you have to tell it what column you want to sort by. If you want to sort by, like Baker, there's Sally and there's Tom. Let's there's two Browns. There's Leah. They're already in alphabetical order by the first name. I can change that. I could do person first name. Right. So the first name becomes a secondary sort.
Does it still recognize this if you don't have the person first name is just no capital under the name?
Yeah, it's not case sensitive.
Okay.
It can make you really lazy when you go to other languages. Yeah, it's not case sensitive. So notice we have Baker and Baker, and I flipped these because I put the DESC on it. Anybody know what that means? Descending, yeah, so it's backwards. So now Tom is first and Sally. So this first column is still A through Z, that's ascending. And then the second column is descending. This is the primary sort, this is the secondary sort. This can be really useful like when you're sorting by years and months and things like that. Again, I'll show you how to do that a little bit next time. But so you might want to sort by the year. I don't know, probably both would be ascending, but you might want to do the year descending and the I mean, you can set them up. But this is always the primary sort, secondary sort. You can have as many sorts as you want, but they move left to right in terms of priority.
For dates and or years, stuff is over.
You could have most recent stuff on top. Typically descending, and you might also want to, let's just do a sort. Let's do select. So I'm going to do it from donation, and we'll do some numeric ones. So I will order by donation amount, and I'll make that descending. What that'll do is it'll put the highest amount at the top, right? So the biggest donation is $12,150. So one thing to know, descending has to be there if you wanted to go in reverse. The descending is required if you want to reverse the order of the sort. Ascending, which is a keyword, is always optional because it's the default. So it's the default, you don't have to. Try to comment that to say so. Okay. Just a couple of other things. Again, I'm trying to remember. I actually wrote all these down, then I forgot to bring my paper with, so that it's covering everything. I'm going to show it slightly different. So let's do, again, select. I'm doing the star just for quickness here. One thing I didn't mention about wildcard, it's really good for just testing things and things. It's not particularly good if you're writing a program creating a web page or something, you probably shouldn't use the wildcard. You should probably specify the fields that you're trying to retrieve. Because you might get stuff back that you're not expecting if they've changed the database or something. It's also more efficient to name the fields. What happens here is SQL Server has to go and do a preliminary sort of the that stores the database, the table names, or the column names. So it does a preliminary search for the column names, and then it uses the column names to search the table. So it has to do two searches when you use the wildcard, as opposed to just using the, yeah. All right, so, and again, I do these real quickly for reference because my memory isn't what it used to be. Let's say we want to find all the people whose name start with L. Well, there's Z. How many Z's are there?
Yes.
So I'm going to say where person, last name, and instead of equal, I'm going to use like, and I'm going to do Z %. So what this is when you use the word like, it searches for a pattern, and this pattern right now is anything starting with a Z. The % is for any number of characters. So if I do that, we get 3 of them. Zimmerman, Zukov, and Psalm. You know, we did a Psalm.
So if you didn't use the %, it would just only
It would just
Z.
return. It would return nothing.
Yeah, there's no, okay.
Because there's no just Z. Yeah.
Equal wouldn't work. Or would
Equal would not work. Equal would return nothing. Now we have. Oh, it's Zorn. It's not Zon. It's Zorn. That makes more sense. That's Zorn.
Yeah.
Okay. Notice that these two end with an N.
What if you put MM instead of Z?
MN.
MM. Would it return Zimmerman?
Well, so if I do N.
No.
Oh, if I did, so first I'll do that, and then I'll return Zimmerman in a moment. That would only return Zimmerman, and because now we're saying
Anything
that begins with a Z and ends with an N.
Okay, so you'd have to go %MM.
Yeah, so if you wanted to do that, and you'd probably get a whole bunch of other people, but let's do it. Actually, let's just copy. Try to copy. So let's do %, MM. And then
Another %?
yeah, another %. Otherwise, it'll be just. Now it's going to get more than Zimmerman. Well, actually, it didn't. So Zimmerman is the only one in there that has 2 S's, I guess.
Probably LL and probably got more than 1 Phillips.
Yeah.
So the function the card.
It is the % wild card. One other wild card. I don't know that it works in here. I'm just trying to think. I'll just do it as a comment. So the underscore is a wild card for a single character. I think I'll break that line so it comes down. So if you were searching just for a single character, these are, the % is for any number of characters. The underscore is one single character. So one of the ones, I don't have this in this database, but if you were doing like courses and you had ITC, so there used to be like, there's 110 and 101. you know, and et cetera. And if you just, actually, which one would you want to do? I don't know, 115. If you just did a single underscore here, it would return all of those.
Starting with
Starting with
11.
whichever, yeah.
Could you put it, how would,
Well, let me try. What would I want?
just go 11 underscore? And it would search.
Yes, yeah. So let's do, what? Oh, yeah.
You can, I was just wondering if you could use that to do like for 5 letters in their name, you just put 5 underscores.
You could put 5 underscores, yes. Let me look at some names and see if I can find a place where we could do just a single underscore. We got Tanner. Well, so we might be able to bring back Tanner. Is there a seat there? Okay. So I'm going to just do this, and let's do TAN underscore ER. And what that should give us is Tanner. It may give us somebody else if there's more than one person that has. There's 3 Tanners. But it's only looking for this second in, right? I don't know if we did like 2 E's, 2 N's, so that, whoops. That's weird. I assume it's going to know that there's 2 characters there. And I get the same.
Anything starting with TA,
Yeah,
2 characters in the middle, ending with ER.
right. Let's just do a single one for right now because I think it's clearer when I post it.
Yeah.
Oh, and that one, this actually I don't think we'll find anything because I left out the initial N. Okay. Okay, couple, does that make sense? Everybody?
Yes.
One other thing I want to say about this, if you have a really huge table, like millions of rows, it is an incredibly inefficient search and may take a long time. There are actually faster ways to do this if you need, but it involves creating indexes, which okay. So there's just a couple other things. As I said, I really kind of want to finish within the next couple of minutes. I have time to work on the last one and this one if you need. So I'm going to show you distinct real quickly. So let's do select. I'm just going to do person key from donation. And there's a reason why I'm only looking for the one field. Okay, so when I do this, these are all the people that have donated. Let's order it. Notice I see a couple of 3s. I'm just going to order it real quickly. Just so 3 is done it several times. 6 is given it. 11 is given it to, right? And it's just it's showing them. But what if you only needed to know the distinct donor? You don't need to know that they've donated many times. There actually is a keyword for that called distinct. Spelled correctly, not in some fake German way. Well, I put a K in there.
Oh.
So when I do this, what it does is it only returns one instance of each of the person keys. Right, so there's no duplicates. Distinct removes, this is a kind of, it removes duplicate rows, right? So if I were to put another column in here, if the row isn't distinct, like if I put in the date, it would return the duplicates because the rows are distinct, are not distinct, their rows are unique. It only returns or eliminates duplicate rows, not duplicate columns. Does that make sense? So the more, if I add more columns, it'll probably return. But there are times when you just want to pull out like the distinct donors. And when we do, if you, we could return their names.
Distinct removes duplicate rows, not.
Duplicate rows, not duplicate columns. Yeah. And it always comes right after the select. And it applies, as I said, to the whole row. But it's really useful when you need it. And there are times when we do joins when you'll get sneaking duplicates in there because we've joined 3 tables and the one person has a record here and it has 2 records in another table. You'll get 2 records for that person instead of just. So if you do distinct, you can eliminate that, and it's really important. Things like totaling the number of donations. Otherwise, they get double the.
Oh.
You know, there. I'll show you when we get there, but there are times when it gets. You can have some sneaky values that you may not. If you're not careful, you may not know are there, and your sums and totals could be wrong. Okay, 2 more things, and I think we're done. I will look at the assignment, make sure I haven't left anything. I'm pretty sure I did all.
This is for.
This is assignment 2 for select, simple selects. This one you may not. I'm going to do select 10 donation amount. It's 10 as a number from donation. Okay, so what top 10? And then this really doesn't make any sense unless you order something, unless you order it. It will just take you the top 10. If you don't order it, it's literally just going to take 10 rows. Doesn't matter what their values are, just whatever the top rows are. By top, it just means off the top. Got 400 rows, it'll just return the first 10 unless you order it. So what this should do is it should give us the top 10 highest things. Now notice it does repeat, right?
Oh, is it?
Oh, that's because I did ascending. I need to do like descending. Oops. Your question? Did I?
Oh, I was just saying. That's what you said.
Yeah. Because I didn't reverse the order. There we go. Oh, and I wanted the donation amount. Did I write?
You just need to wipe it out.
How did I do that? Let's
You hit the back key while it was highlighted. You hit backspace.
and done. There we go. Okay, so this should by donation amount. This should give us a better top 10.
If you don't add the ordered amount, will it even recognize that line?
Yeah, well, it'll just take whatever the top, literally just the top 10 rows, whatever.
So you won't get an error, nothing. It'll just
Yeah, it'll just
10.
give you. We've got. I'm not sure how many rows. It'll just give you rows, right? And that's what it's doing here also. But when you order, then there's a certain logic to the top 10, right?
Yeah.
And if you really wanted to see, you can also apply a distinct here if you wanted.
Make sure there's no duplicates.
Right, so then it would give you the top 10 amounts that are not duplicated.
That would that be best practice? So like,
Probably.
when you're dealing with money and
Yeah, I mean, you could, it kind of depends on what you're looking for. I mean, I could see where both might be valid. It's a little bit, this gives you the top 10 amounts without worrying. If you were looking just for, I don't know, I think this one makes more sense generally, but I could see a couple reasons for doing it. And there's one last to show you. See if I can remember the syntax. This was not one I do a lot. So I'm going to do select donation amount from donation. I'm going to order by donation amount are descending. I'm going to say offset. It does indeed. You can remember offset 10. Is it return? That's not quite right. Offset by 10. Is it row offset? I can check real quickly. As I said, I wrote this down. So I'm going to go to the blog, ITC, Conger. So Conger ITC, or there it is, 222 there. And I'm going to say, and this is last time's, by the way, that I did. So I'm going to say select, although I could go look for the offset in particular. So why is it going that far back?
if you haven't put it up, posted it yet, have you?
Well, no, but I posted it last quarter. So this is 2017. Would have been in January. Did I not post it last time? There, offset 5 rows. Fetch next 5 rows only. So I had the element wrong. Offset 5 rows. Fetch. How many rows do we want to bring? 5. We'll do it. But I did 5 rows only. What this does, doesn't like 5. Oh, next 5 rows. So notice this returns 10. So this is gonna say, go down to 5. This should actually return from 5 to 10, right? Because it's going to offset 5 from the top and then start and return 5. So if we wanted to, I mean, it should return just the last 5 there.
Yeah, when I execute that same click. Okay.
Yeah, so it should return just those 5. And if we wanted to return more rows, we could put whatever number we want in there. But it offsets from the top, so you're ignoring the top, right? You're ignoring the top 5 rows. We're offsetting by 5 rows. At this point, I'm returning 10. So you might be trying to get, and you could offset by however many rows you want.
To take sort as well as the order.
Not that I know of, because these are just sort of the result set rows. I wonder if there's a way to return the row number, actual row number. You could do, to some extent, I could do like the donation key kind of map. It's not an exact map to the row number, but it auto numbers as it goes down. But it could leave, if you delete a record, that number never comes back. It's not an exact match to the row number. It seems to me like there is a way to get the row number in there, but I'd have to look that up. Questions? I think that's everything for the assignment. So I will comment this and post it within the next couple of minutes. And let's look at the assignment since I do have this up. And if you're still working on the tables, that's perfectly fine. So I said, and I will, most weeks I will give you some lab time. And actually, as we get going and the things get more complicated, I'll probably do something on Monday and then give you Wednesday as a lab. So. I'm just real quickly going to make sure that I didn't forget anything, and then so those are just selects. There's some sorting. Sorting. There's a like, null and not null. And this one has a remove all duplicates is distinct. One of the things about these assignments is generally I tell you what I want you to do, not necessarily how to do them. So you might need how. And if it is obscure, let me know, because not everything, I try to be clear, but it's not always. These, as I said, they're not too, there's the offset, and then there's the top 10. So I think I've covered everything. All right, so let me comment this and post it. And then I actually need to run and find a restroom, which is hard to do these days.
Yeah.
So they just had to.
Fifth
All of them at the same time.
Yeah, 5th floor or the first floor. Yeah. The one down pretty nice.
One upstairs is always like,
Yeah, that's true, because nobody wants to go upstairs. I mean, go hike up there.
Huh.
There's nothing most people need up there if you're not academy thing. All right, so
This department except for.
yeah, though we're talking about taking over, although there may be some battling over it. So the health and human services will move to the Beacon Hill. So we're hoping to expand that way with some remodeling.
I overheard like Lisa in the hallway talking to some people saying that they were planning on moving like the IT classes to some other place out of there.
Well, so another thing that they're talking about is building a new IT building right next to the Mountain Science Building.
Be there.
Right.
So the money should be there.
Yeah.
Build two of them. I build one, we can build two. I see.
There's never now, or get rid of now that one is the thing is we're not sure the address. This one should be column. So this one. So the reason. Yeah, I would just. No. That's fine. All right, so quick comment. Which one am I? So return all the. Let's do it sign, right? So not.
Well, but it's.
Yeah, the bus driver. I said that, yeah. I think it's employee chief.
Yeah, but
didn't mention the treated really databases. You have to put the word date in front of every date.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, they were.
No, MySQL, I think it treats it pretty similarly. But dates are a little bit weird and different. It doesn't convert that though. You have to put out the date. Right. It doesn't on whatever format.
These two.
Yeah.
This syntax error I'm getting. This is for the tables assignment, and I've got a syntax error from last week. Right there. I'm not exactly sure why, because I know it's linked to.
It's because you didn't.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Never mind. Thanks.
Yeah. So, systems are emailing, no. Where is it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was looking at it before. Yeah. That's very good.
For a community system.
That's much better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, yeah. Okay.
So is it starting on the 6th row or the 5th?
Good question. I think it would start at the 6th.
If it's offsetting 5.
Yeah. So if I do the 10, so the 6th value is 2000. So does it start at 5 or does it start?
What did you say it was? It was 2,000?
Yeah. So it seems to start above that. Let's get rid of the donation key here because I think that's okay. So this is the top 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is 2450. So it's actually starting. Oh, you know what? The other thing is distinct. I didn't have distinct here. So I should start at 2000 if it's,
Ignore the first one.
yeah, and it does.
So you're starting on the 6th.
Yeah. The difference between this is this was distinct and this wasn't, so they had different numbers.
You're not, right? Mine is the dog food.
I didn't say this, but order by is required in a statement. It'll throw an error if there isn't an order by. Okay, I think that's it.
Oh, you mentioned it because I just got to something that required that.
Yeah. Okay, so let me get into the, actually, oh, and I'm still videoing. I do that all the time. There's always these long dead tails.